CNET, Empowering Communities. The National Lottery Community Fund. BTM, the home of accessible information. Hear Our Voice. This project was set up to support people with disabilities, to improve their digital skills, increasing their confidence and enabling them to influence local services. Our Lockdown. We start this film with Chris and his written piece about life during the coronavirus outbreak.
The year 2020 has been like no other in living memory. The coronavirus pandemic spread rapidly across the world. It shattered our lives and separated us from our loved ones. In the midst of the lockdown and restrictions, our group decided to make a documentary. We wanted to provide a platform for the most vulnerable during the pandemic to share their experiences. For a mentally impaired person like myself, it has been a time of great confusion and difficulty. Lockdown has brought many fears. Yet I can still take some positives from these dark days. It has disrupted all our lives, and for some of us, our normal routines have abruptly ended.
Yeah, the first question is just about who you are and tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm Ada Aravama, I'm 23. I'm a Performing Arts University graduate from Liverpool. I'm really interested in directing. I've done a course with Mind the Gap, which is a theatre company for learning disabled and disabled artists. And I'm hoping to be working with them on a project soon. And before the pandemic, I was really sociable. Like my week was full. Obviously, I had university, I had like my dance classes, my drama course, and lectures. But then after uni, I did clubs. Like I took up jiu-jitsu. There's this sport for the visually impaired called goalball. I compete in that as well. I'm an intermediate player, and so I had training with them, and then I also did like singing classes. So yeah, my week was full of things that I'd be doing, and then all of a sudden everything's closed and I can't do anything. So yeah, it was definitely really depressing, the first lockdown. I kept on saying at the beginning, like 2020 is the worst year to be a university graduate, because I feel like in general it's really hard to graduate and get a job and find out what you want to do after being in education for so long. But then you graduate in a pandemic and nothing's going on, and then it has been difficult, and just opportunities, especially as a disabled person, disabled artist, just being disabled in general, to find a job. Something I kept on reminding myself is you're not failing at life just because you're not doing anything or you don't feel like you're achieving. Obviously, like, you've got to remember that you're in a particular situation and it's different from person to person. So don't try and compare your situation to someone else's, because you're all very different, and you will get somewhere. It's given me a chance to shift my focus into other parts of my artistic skills. Yeah, because sometimes it's so easy to just be in your room, in your house, in your own head, like, I'm the only one going through it, I'm the only one that hasn't got a job. But that's not the case. There are loads of people that are like that. And then when you have friends as well that have graduated or in the same position as you, it's good to support each other and know that you're not failing. That it's difficult for everyone.
I put my faith earnestly in the love of God and have begun reading the Bible more fervently than any other time in my life. I've also tried to become a more kind and considerate person, as this is how I'd like to be remembered should the worst happen to me. We've all been pushed to our limits, but have had to be more mindful of our family, our friends, and even strangers.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Who are you? Can you tell us your name and a bit about yourself?
My name is Liz Radici. I'm 42 years old. I've lived in Bradford all my life. I'm married to Alex and I have 2 teenage children. I have a pet dog called Rocky and a cat called Teddy, and I'm from a reasonably big family. So since probably the age of 11, I started to develop what I didn't know what it was at the time, but then what was diagnosed at age 18, obsessive compulsive disorder.
What do you like doing? What are your interests?
I absolutely adore listening to music, seeing live music. I also love film and a good box set. I really get into anything with good characterization. I love theatre, getting the opportunity to perform in a play. I'm part of a church, so my faith is quite central to my life as well.
What challenges have you faced this year during lockdown?
I feel like from a mental health point of view, I've had therapy over a number of years about contamination and worrying about germs and what have you. And in fact, the therapy is to to get yourself to not be afraid of germs and to not do all the things you feel compelled to do just to feel extra clean. And so in a way, I'm having to do all the stuff that I've been told not to do in my therapy. I do work, and in my job there's a lot of cleaning in between each person, and you're just aware that you have this responsibility by law as well to keep things as clean as you can. And I spent most of my life trying to avoid this way of thinking and being over the top, and now everyone's having to be over the top, completely doing stuff that I did anyway when I didn't need to. Now I'm having to do them as a matter of, and it's quite tiring for me, and it takes me a lot longer because I want to do it really thoroughly. I don't do things quickly. Like I can drive this year. I learned to drive. In fact, during coronavirus, I've been learning for I think a year, and because of coronavirus, I really believe that's why I passed my test. And so I was still driving our car because I was on as a provisional driver, which is a Vauxhall Zafira, quite a clunky, small engine, 1.6. And for some reason, Alex, my husband, said, Liz, you're driving really well. I thought, am I? And then we both kind of thought together that, this lockdown has meant there's a lot less cars on the road. I think you should go for your test. Don't wait months and have loads more lessons. Let's have a go now. So I booked a test, and which was 10 days later. With my car, I've been driving it more than my instructor's car. And I turned up to my test in the Zafira, and they were like, "What, you're gonna take your test in that?" And anyway, they said, "Oh well, actually, lots of the driving instructors, they don't want to be working at the moment. They feel unsafe because of COVID, and we want the government to shut this down so that we don't have to go to work and we can be protected." They said, "We just need to check that your test hasn't been cancelled." So he went upstairs with my license and he came down. He says, "Yours is still on." And I was like, "Wow!" And then the nicest, I am not joking, the nicest instructor came to collect me to take me to do my test. I did my test, and I know because the roads were quieter, it made it far easier to do. That's the simple fact. And when she said I'd passed, I just was over the moon.
So I was gonna ask about your achievements, but you've already sort of like covered that.
Yeah, just trying to do what I can for those that I can, and using my car to help people out in this time has been more essential than ever.
Even though we are all struggling with mortality and with the Grim Reaper hanging over us, there is still a place for good manners and a friendly hello. I have made my house my home and the centre of my world for several months now, only venturing outside to shop or do other essential business. For others who were outside of the country when the pandemic struck, they faced the nightmare of being stranded far from home.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
My name is Neil. I'm 59 years old. I'm actually an ex-registered nurse for people with learning disabilities, and I suffer from a very debilitating diagnosis of anxiety and depression. For an example, I can't get on a bus alone and travel from one side of Bradford to the other without being in a total state of absolute panic. One of the big challenges was the fact that I actually got stranded at the other side of the world.
I know you've got quite an interesting story about that.
I have a girlfriend who lives in New Zealand. I have been down once before to actually see her, but I had decided that this February I was going to go and see her again. That time in Christchurch was absolutely great, but about March the 20th, I think it was, when friends started contacting me saying, Neil, there's a possibility that flights could be getting cancelled here. Do you think you should be thinking about getting home early? So 25th of March, full lockdown is implemented. At 6 o'clock that afternoon, everybody's mobile phone received a text message from the government saying it was going into lockdown level 4. Yeah, everyone's phone in the house bleeped simultaneously, and obviously around New Zealand. Suddenly, I'm the other side of the world. I don't know whether I'm getting home May, June, July, or the next year.
How did the lack of communication and all the confusion affect your anxiety?
My mind was like a roller coaster. There was just so many conflicting reports of flights were going to get cancelled, flights weren't going to get cancelled. Do I need to look at another air company to try and get me home or whatever? I was lucky. I was guaranteed a roof over my head. I was living with my girlfriend. Anyway, eventually, towards the beginning of May, I was actually finally offered a repatriation flight from Christchurch to Heathrow Airport. Coming back on the plane, on the repatriation flight, I was shocked that the plane they put me on was packed. There wasn't you a spare seat and then somebody else. I was sat between two strangers on a row of 4 seats. That was frightening. I still feel tight and chested, and it's a bit like delayed shock still when I think about it all. But there's also, as I said, there's also that element of pride that I did it. I had to step into the unknown and get on a strange plane to a strange part of the country and get home that way. So there's definitely that pleasing aspect now of, as I said, I did something, I came out the other side of it, and I'm here to talk about it.
My TV and telephone are my link to the outside world, and I'm comfortable enough in my own little habitat.
Jacob is non-verbal. He works extensively with video and wrote these words about his lockdown experiences, which have been voiced by David. I'm Jacob. My main interest is railways and trains. So pandemic or not, I am at my computer, updating my page and researching for other enthusiasts, timetables, paths, etc. I run a page for my own railway interests, and I train spot and video with help from my nan with a camera. It has been now well over a year since we first heard about COVID, and this will be my story. I watched the news every day, and I was shocked by how this disease was taking over the world, and it seemed like people were dying at a scary rate. I remember that I saw one day Spain had lost 1,800, and it was terrifying. I also remember some helicopter shots of Trafalgar Square in London. It was empty and still. It was like something out of a movie. Face masks were required outside, and queues formed outside shops. That was odd to me at first, but now it is just part of life, and hand sanitizers have become the norm. I remember that toilet rolls became very expensive, and there were many battles on auction sites, and even one listing was going for 4 figures. I have coped through the 3 lockdowns by using the internet because there is an endless range of things to watch and read. This helped to take my mind off the real world. I miss the simple things like going to the railway station or visiting my family and friends. I had a good Christmas with a couple of members of my family. As the clock turned into 2021, I was hopeful. But then I was told that someone that I have been in contact with has tested positive, and I would have to do a test. It came back positive, and I was scared for my life because my lungs are weaker than most people. I remember sitting at my computer stunned, and I couldn't type or do anything for a few minutes. I was living with this killer disease and wondered what will happen to me. Thankfully, it did not affect me that much. I have had worse colds in the past, and I am very lucky to get a mild dose of COVID. We went into another lockdown, and it wasn't a big deal anymore. I had my vaccine in March, and it didn't hurt. Things can only get better.
I don't need the sights and sounds of other cities, the endless chatter of the high street, the inside of a pub or restaurant, or the rickety ride on the top deck of a bus. I've learnt to enjoy the pleasures I knew as a child, a good film, a good book, a good song on the radio, and a sound night's sleep.
My name is Gemma. I have always lived in Bradford. I have 3 cats. I used to have a dog. My hobbies are swimming, football, tennis, badminton, and rounders. I like to go walking and to get fresh air every day. This helps me to switch off. I like to go shopping, but I don't like to walk too far. This helps me to stay calm and makes me feel good. It's good to switch off. We went into lockdown on 23rd of March last year, and it was difficult. It was a real shock. I couldn't believe it. I felt depressed and anxious. It was a massive change to my life. I wasn't allowed to go out and meet my friends, go travelling or shopping. It made me feel sad, and this was hard. I did activities to stop me feeling anxious. I did some drawing, and I played games on my phone. The main thing I did was to talk to other deaf people on my phone. This was so much fun, and it did stop me feeling anxious. We all felt the same way, and it was great to talk. It felt really good to talk to people about how I was feeling. If you don't talk about how you feel, it can affect your mental health. I also focused my mind on other things like drawing. I did lots of different things. I did a lot of walking. It was better than being at home. I walked around the park every day. I feel like I have achieved so much in my garden, and I did lots of painting. I was really busy. I liked doing activities that didn't involve me using my phone all of the time. Being outside in the sunshine was beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. It made me feel really good. I don't like too much heat though, because it affects me. I painted the whole garden. I also painted the front door. I painted some more walls and some areas black and white too. It looks so much better and it made me feel really good. I really want everyone to stay positive. Please stay safe at home. Wash your hands and wear your masks. Make sure you stay 2 meters apart from each other. Be careful when you go shopping. I hope you've all had your vaccinations. Stay safe and have a good day. Enjoy yourselves and stay safe.
It's only by taking a step back that we can reevaluate our lives and realise that most of the things we need, we already had. We just never knew it.
We interviewed a diverse range of people for this project, and their stories can be found at btmprojects.com/ourlockdown. Here are their positive messages.
Keep your mind focused and work your way through things and just find things to do, things that you enjoy or things that you like doing.
I think the biggest thing that lockdown has taught me is to be kind to myself. And if you can do that, then you can get through anything.
To keep busy bits or doing something, take mind off it.
Well, I hope they can find some solace from the lockdown, even family agreements, losses. After we can appreciate who's around.
I'd say sort of before lockdown, I was always busy. I was always doing something, and lockdown has kind of taught me that, you know what, just down tools and relax, just to take the time and chill, not live life at 100 miles an hour, because it's not worth it at the end of the day.
If you have people who love you around you, and who are rooting for you, and you believe that amazing things can happen, such as miracles, then the fact that I'm no different to anyone else, I'm no better than anyone else, I'm not more special than anyone else, I've managed to do these things, and I feel like that can happen to any one of you.
You're not alone. Always talk to others when you feel down.
Protect everyone, including protect yourself, and don't do anything crazy that would affect anyone, including yourself.
Focus on the things that you can do, not on the things that you can't.
I'd rather stay positive. It's the only thing for me is to stay positive and carry on the best way you can. Yes, it has been a challenge and it's been hard, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting there now.
BTM presents, in association with CNET Bradford and the National Lottery Community Fund, Our Lockdown. Our filmmakers: Sol Cameron, Simon Lee, Luke Matthews, Chris Walker, Jacob Barrett. Our participants: Damien Marshall, Liz Radis, Mary Lyons, Muneem Chowdhury, Tom Walsh, Anthony Brooke, Neil Pilkington, Katrina Fennell, Katie Wigglesworth, Ada Iravarma, Michael Chappell, Howard Davies, Gemma Greaves, Damien Grogan. Video production by BTM, the home of accessible information. Bradford Talking Media, 11 to 12 Eldon Place, Bradford, BD1 3AZ. www.btm.org.uk